Afternoon, Pelicans. My name is Lana Dairam, and I am the Administrative Assistant here at the Student Engagement Unit of the DSSD, Division of Student Services and Development. It is my pleasure to welcome you today to our first year experience informative session called Let's Get Data Smart. As first year students, you are just beginning your academic journey here at the UWI St. Augustine campus. And part of that journey is learning how to protect not only your academic success, but also your personal information in an increasingly digital world. Since you are now in your second week of classes, we understand that you are very much excited. And so for our guests or our students that are here, please let us know using the emojis, how have your semester been going so far? Describe the vibe of the semester so far. Is classes excited? Are you getting exactly what you? Oh, I'm getting some thumbs up. Thank you so much. So that means we're adjusting well to classes on campus. So today's session is designed to help you better understand the importance of data protection, what it means, why it matters, and most importantly, how you can protect yourself online, from safeguarding your devices to being more aware of how you share your personal data. Today's conversation will give you practical tools to stay smart and safe. We're especially pleased to have with us our colleagues from the University Data Protection Office, based at our sister campus in Mona. Facilitating today's discussion is none other than Dr. Patrick Angle, our university's Data Protection Officer. So sit back, listen carefully, and do not be shy. Take notes. This is your opportunity to build smart habits from the very start of your university life. It is my pleasure to officially welcome you once again to Let's Get Data Smart. Over to you, Dr. Angle.
Okay, so thank you very much for inviting us to this wonderful occasion that you have at St. Augustine. But I just want to quickly make a quick correction. So the office is actually at the regional headquarters of the University of the West Indies. While we are located in Jamaica, we are not at the Mona campus. So we are in the regional headquarters of the university. I want that distinction to be made because we are not a campus office. Our office transcends the entire university, and we're going to get into all of that. But I just want to welcome our new students. Welcome to the University of the West Indies. You are in a great place. This is your place to shine. And I too am a graduate of the university. My first and second degrees were here, and I had a wonderful experience. The title of my presentation this afternoon is Data Smart, a riff-off of what is happening now, but it's a quick guide to data protection at UWI. So, by way of introduction, privacy is serious business in this day and age. And you're probably asking the question, why does it matter? Well, privacy matters because many things, but I've just put 3 things on this slide. Data is one of the most valuable commodities that we have right now. Right now, we are in what is referred to as the information age. And it is the new oil, it's the new gold. It is something that is of immense value, and real life breaches affects all of us, including yourselves. So you have to be data smart. And it's not just about secrecy, and it's not about secrecy at all, actually. It's about taking control of your information. I promise you I won't be long. I've been given an hour, but I won't spend so much time in my presentation. I mean, I would love to hear some more from our fellow students. But by way of context, I want us to understand that there is a global shift toward privacy. Many economies across the world are data-driven economies. They rely on data to drive their economies, social media, artificial intelligence, information about the person, biometric information. All of that, or those pieces of data, are critical to many companies, many countries. And there have been several scandals. You probably have heard of the Cambridge Analytica scandal around the 2016 elections in the US. And there are also some concerns regarding TikTok. You might be hearing that the US government wants to ban TikTok because TikTok is coming from a Chinese company. So we are in the throes right now of a global shift. And because we're in this kind of shift, we recognize that some global standards have been created to assist all of us. GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation out of the EU, governs those 27 countries in the EU. The California Consumer Protection Act, the CCPA, is out of California in the US. The Jamaica Data Protection Act, out of Jamaica. And of course, there are other regional laws. Trinidad, also the Data Protection Act, which was enacted in 2011, and it's currently since 2019 under review. So we do recognize that there are several things out there which have lent themselves to international standards. But why have these things been enacted? Well, there is a very real threat of identity theft. People are surveilling you. They're looking at your information, and they're trying to manipulate your data for their own ends, for their own means. So therefore, privacy, your privacy, is recognized as a human right. In fact, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which came about in 1948, has an article inside here, Article 12, which actually stipulates that privacy is, in fact, a human right. So we are all impacted, you included. So as our new students, I want you to recognize that you are in a very difficult world, but the university has put in place mechanisms to protect you. In fact, these mechanisms are not just there to protect you, but they protect all our stakeholders, all members of our community. So what is our commitment? Well, first of all, that commitment extends across our very, very vast footprint of 26 countries. And that commitment begins with a unified data protection policy. And this policy is aligned with international standards. Importantly, this policy subsumes many of the laws in our Caribbean territories. And I want you to focus on our policy and not necessarily on the laws, even in Trinidad and Tobago. Because there are some things in our policy, aside from the fact that our policy is written in clear, unambiguous, and direct, non-legal language, there are some things inside there which you will not find in your local law. Because we operate across so many countries, we have to ensure that it's all inclusive. We have to ensure that protecting you is a core obligation, and that is a core commitment that we make. But we've been talking about data protection. In fact, the title is a quick guide to data protection at UA. So you're probably asking, so what is data protection? Well, data protection refers to the various systems, policies, procedures, and practices which are designed to keep your personal information secure and confidential. And personal information or personal data is really any information that can be used to identify you. And that is important because that information can be used by itself or combined with other information that we either have now or we're likely to have. And it can be used to identify anybody. Now, the person who is being identified and whose information we have is referred to as the data subject. So personal data is any information that can be used to identify a data subject. And the University of the West Indies, as the organization responsible for how this information is processed, collected, used, how it's disposed of, how it's shared, we are referred to as the data controller. And therefore, as a data controller, we as a University of the West Indies, or we as a global university, we have to protect your information. So what are some of the principles that we stand atop of? Well, for us, data protection is about safeguarding personal information or personal data. Fundamentally, it's about creating robust defense mechanisms to keep your details confidential and inaccessible to persons who ought not to see it. So I want you to recognize that you have that assurance from us that your information is going to be kept confidential. But it doesn't end there. We have to also ensure that even within our information systems, it is secure from external hacking or malicious actors. And this involves implementing various security measures to protect your digital information, to prevent data breaches, and to prevent unauthorized access, and of course, cyber threats. But there's more. In addition to safeguarding your personal information and ensuring digital privacy, we monitor what is happening. So ultimately, for us, data protection builds the trust that you have in your university by ensuring that your personal information that we handle is handled with care, and we respect your privacy from when we collect it during our recruitment drives to when we delete much of it when you leave. Once you're with us, your information, some of it will be held in perpetuity. We'll never get rid of some of it because you are now a part of the institution. So I want you to recognize that. But how do we do it? Because we operate across so many different countries. I am in Jamaica right now at the regional headquarters. You're in Trinidad. How do we do all of the work we're supposed to be doing to ensure that we meet the commitments that we have established? Well, we do so using policies and practices. The main policy that we use is our data protection policy. Now, as I alluded to earlier, this policy is founded on the principles of fairness, transparency, and accountability in all handling practices. The policy was approved by the university in 2020, February 14, 2020 to be exact. The policy is across the entire university, across all our contributing territories. And of course, you know, we have physical campuses in Antigua, in Barbados, in Jamaica, and Trinidad. But we also have university centers all across the Caribbean in our other 12 contributing territories. The only contributing territory that we don't have a physical location is right now is Bermuda. So we have about 40 physical locations across the Caribbean. And we have some other locations across 10 other states throughout the world. And these locations are managed by one policy. That's our data protection policy. We also have some procedures. Now, those procedures gives you step-by-step advice. And let me put it stronger, step-by-step instructions how to operate. So our policy is really a statement of intent at a high level. Our procedures provide step-by-step instructions how to ensure that we only collect what we need, and that's referred to as data minimization, that we protect it and it's not left in the clear, and that's referred to as encryption. And we ensure that only persons who should see it, even those internally, are able to see it. And that is referred to as access control. But in addition to that, information are normally gathered as records. And we have a comprehensive records management regime to ensure that we retain your information for only as long as necessary. And while it's being retained, it's kept securely. And when we're going to get rid of it, it's done in an environmentally sound way and a responsible way. Where can you find all of this information? This information is located online at uwi.edu/data-protection. That's where you'll find our policy, our procedures. It will also lead you to some other things. It will show you how to actually ensure that you are operating, even as a student, in a manner which protects your own liberties and the liberties of your colleague students. There are also some other resources there. You can find out about what is happening in your country in relation to data protection, as well as the other countries across the Caribbean. You can find out about events which are being held at the university in relation to privacy. I would strongly advise that you write down this particular website address. It's very easy to remember. It's uwi.edu/data-protection. Check out our website. But while I'm talking to you as students, I want you to recognize that we put you first. And there are some student-focused measures that we have put in place. One of these are a set of privacy statements. In fact, there is a specific privacy statement for students. And this privacy statement, you would have seen it when you went to admissions, or you should have seen it when you went to admissions, it actually indicates to you, or should indicate if you saw it, what information we collect for you, how it's collected, who collects it, who has access, how it's used, who it's shared with, and how do we get rid of it, if at all. These privacy statements are critical. They're also on our website. So I want you to recognize that we have a mechanism in place that you can check to see what we're doing. Another measure is that we have a strict consent management mechanism where we ask for your permission before we record, before we conduct surveys, in respect of research data, because we want to prioritize your autonomy. We take you seriously. You are the center of our universe. And therefore, these measures, the privacy statement tells you what we're doing, and the consent mechanism asks your permission to do it. Now, not only do we say what we're going to be doing, we empower you. We allow you through our data subject access request process to request information about you that we have. You can request to see what we have about you. In fact, we've made it quite simple. We have self-service these days where you can go online and go to the student management system to look at the information about you that we have. And if you're not comfortable, you can send an email to dpu@uwi.edu to find out what is happening with your information. So some practical examples. We have given you a UWI email address. I am going to beg you to use your UWI email address. It is the official means of communication between yourself and the institution. In fact, it tells us that you are bona fide, that you're credible, and it protects you if something goes wrong. Please use it. On our website, we also have some policies that are there to advise you how to behave when you use our digital resources. Have a look at the policies. Please, the university regulations can be strict. They can be overwhelming, but I'm going to ask you to look at them because they're there for your protection. The good thing, though, is that there is a student portal and everything is accessible from one location. Use the portal because the portal is the entryway digitally into the university. And by way of a practical example as well, we handle transcripts and certificates confidentially. But there is a sore point, and it is in relation to classroom recordings. It is against the rules for students to record other people and post online because it's a breach of their privacy. So not only do we have to protect your privacy as an institution, we have to protect the privacy of everybody else. So I'm going to ask you, students, please do not record other people and place them on your social media page or send it to anybody else without their permission. That is a breach of our rules. And we don't want you to get caught up in a disciplinary matter. Even recording lectures, if you capture the lecturer's image voice. That's their personal data. Without their permission, that is a breach of our rules. Please, please don't do it. If you want to record, ask first. If you want to share the recording with somebody else, ask first. I know it's easy to do it, you know. In fact, let me just admit, let me confess, it is very difficult for us to catch you because there are too many of you. But this is the thing. We don't want to make an example out of anybody. So we're asking you not to do it. Just help us to protect the privacy of the entire community, which includes you. But I want you to recognize that you have some rights. And these are called your privacy rights. While you're here, in fact, in any society, you have these rights. You have the right of access. Any information, of course, there are some exemptions to this. Any information we have about you, you should be able to see it. That is a fundamental right that you have. You have the right to correct information that is erroneous. That is referred to as the right to rectification. That right is one where us as a data controller, remember I said data controller before, in recognizing that we might have information about you which is wrong, has a duty to correct that information. As well as removing information that you don't want us to have. Now, of course, this right of erasure or right to erasure is limited. And this is for fairly obvious reasons. If you get a bad grade, you can't exercise your right to erasure, asking us to remove that bad grade. But there are some other pieces of your information that you have a right to have removed. Your DPO is here for you. My email address, dpo@uwi.edu. Another right you have is that of restricting how your information is processed. And this is in relation many times to marketing campaigns. Now, I know that we like to send out marketing brochures to people. If something is not related to your academic pursuit or academic endeavors or our academic offerings, you have a right to say to us, I don't want you to process my information in that regard. That is referred to as the right to restrict processing. You also have a right in relation to automated decision making. You have a right to object. Now, that one is a tricky one because of where we are, and there are 50,000 of you students around the university. But you do have a right to object to the processing of information. And if the university, if your DPO does not provide you with proper redress, you have a right to complain to the regulator in your country. Now, currently, Trinidad does not have a regulator. So as your DPO, I am ensuring that all your rights are protected, and all of these rights are actually dealt with in a serious manner, recognizing that these are rights that you have. So I've been talking quite a bit, and I'm going to stop shortly. But before I stop, I want to share some tips in respect of keeping personal data safe. Now, even though we are in the age of digitization. Everybody has a cell phone. Many persons have laptop computers or other devices that they store information on. Many of us still use written material. Many of us still obtain written material, printed material. The first thing, and this is a basic one, you must store these physical pieces of information or physical records securely. Place them in a locked area, whether it's a locked bag, and then you secure that bag, a locked drawer, or some other means of keeping them physically safe. We can't forget the old-fashioned ways of keeping information safe. Now, this one helps you in your studies, but it also helps you to retrieve information, file documents clearly and consistently. It helps you to keep it safe, but it also helps you operationally when you want to retrieve the information, to do things with it. You won't always be on campus. Sometimes you'll be on the bus to and from school. Sometimes you'll be working off-site or from home. Be careful. Be careful where you leave your phone. Be careful who is shoulder surfing, who is looking over your shoulder at your devices. When you use your credit cards, be careful where you swipe your credit cards. If you're going to be using the tap feature on your credit card, recognize that it may be insecure sometimes. So always try to limit the use of that particular tap feature on the credit card. Try to insert it and use a PIN. And you secure the actual entry of the PIN by covering your hands, etc. You have to keep your information safe. You have that responsibility. If you're sending electronic documents, try to send them in an encrypted manner. Encrypt the information. In fact, don't send personal information over unsecure communication channels. I know we like WhatsApp, and it's easy to use, it's friendly, it has excellent utility, but it mightn't be the most secure way to transmit information. There are other messaging platforms that you can use which have been found to be more secure. Think about using some of those. But always remember that you never know who's at the other end. So even when you send something in a secure fashion, the other device to which it's sent may already be in the hands of a malicious actor. So always be careful. This one is a fairly obvious one. Do not share your passwords with anybody. And before you share screen, just check to make sure that the screen you're sharing does not have anything confidential on it. And if you're moving away from your device, lock the screen. And of course, the unlock password should be either biometric or complex to make sure that persons who are malicious in their intent don't easily get access to your device. Now, there are times when you're going to be discussing information with colleagues. There are times when you're going to be talking to your friends at the cafeteria, perhaps on the playing field, perhaps in the classroom. Remember, when you're discussing personal information, whether yours or somebody else's, be discreet. Voices carry, even on the telephone. Sometimes you have to shout to be heard. But when you are shouting, you do not know who else is hearing what you're saying. So be careful. Now, my presentation is not all inclusive and it's not comprehensive. And I don't want to bore you with giving you too much information in a very short time. We are here for you. The Data Protection Office and officer are here to assist. We are at the regional headquarters in Kingston, Jamaica, but you don't have to fly to Kingston. You can send an email. dpo@uwi.edu. And our website has information on it. Check out our website. But just in case you don't want to go on the web, we're on social media. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And our handle is University DPO. Check it out. You can ask questions, you can report incidents, or you can lodge complaints, or you can just talk to us. We are available for you. We are your data protection office. You are our main constituent. And remember, you are the center of our universe. So, some key takeaways. I told you I wouldn't be long, eh? A sigh of relief. So the first key takeaway, privacy is a global movement, not just a trend. In fact, the UN system has 192 countries. Of those countries, roughly 160 plus of them have put in place a similar mechanism to what is in place in your country. We have to pay close attention to that. We have policies, and that's a second takeaway. We have policies, we have safeguards to protect you. Remember, my third key takeaway, you have rights, and you have a direct channel to me. I am your advocate. You're the center of my universe. Being data smart, it's about awareness and responsibility. So what is there for you to do? And it's my final call to action. As I close, protect your personal data. Respect the data of others and continue to stay data smart. Thank you very much, and I invite you now to pose your questions or comments. I'll hand back to you, host.
Thank you very much, Dr. Anglin. This session was truly informative and it really opened our eyes. Again, students, if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat or raise your hands. But as we wait for that, Dr. Anglin, I just have a couple questions we can go through. One of them being, what kind of personal information is considered sensitive or to be protected?
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So we're using some technical terms there. So Lana, you just use a term, sensitive. So I'm going to break it out a bit. When we speak about personal information has two categories: personal data and sensitive personal data. So personal information is the overarching term, broken down into personal data and sensitive personal data. So what is personal data? Personal data is any information that can be used to identify somebody. Sensitive personal data is a special category of personal data. which includes your biometric information. So, for example, your fingerprints, your signature, your voice, your iris or retinal scan. So that's biometric. Genetic information, blood type, blood test results. But other things are sensitive personal information, personal data as well. For example, your sex life, which includes your orientation. Other things, your religious belief or other philosophical beliefs. Or this is an important one, membership in a trade union. That is also sensitive personal data. Now, sensitive personal data, as I said, is a special category of personal data which must be protected with a higher level of protection. But all of it is personal data.
Thank you so much. I even learned that. I didn't know your union information is also protected.
Mhm.
Another thing, so if a student is to find out that their personal data is being used, misused, or shared without permission, what steps do they take to rectify this?
Well, the first step you want to take is you want to reach out to the person who you believe is committing the infraction.
Mhm.
And you can contemporaneously, at the same time, reach out to data protection officer at dpo@uwi.edu to report the infraction. But when you reach out to the person, you can ask them why they have done it and to desist from continue doing it. However, we now have a responsibility as the office to investigate and to take action on your behalf as a student. Because remember, you are the center of our universe.
I really like that line. I feel like I have to put that up in the office. The students are the center of our universe. I really love that. We have a student in the chat, Miss Diaz, who posed a question. What would you consider the most important step in protecting your personal data?
Okay, so Miss Diaz, I think the most important step, and this might sound quite mundane, is just awareness. You just have to be more vigilant and more aware. Let me give an example. When somebody is or has asked you to provide them with information, that vigilance will prompt you to ask them, why do you need it? That vigilance will prompt you to ask them, who is going to be using it? That vigilance will prompt you to ask them, how long are you going to keep it for? That vigilance will prompt you to ask them who it's going to be shared with. And that vigilance will prompt you to ask them, what happens once you've finished using it? In fact, that vigilance helps you too, so that when you use your credit card, you cover the keypad when you're trying to enter your PIN. That vigilance, when you come on a Zoom meeting, will force you to ask the host, am I being recorded? What happens to this recording? Who will have access to it? That vigilance will ask you or will force you to ask a classmate of yours who is recording a lecture, are you recording somebody's personal data? Am I a person you're recording? So the first step is awareness and vigilance.
Awareness and vigilance. It really is important when every time you come into a Zoom meeting, there is that pop-up that says this session is being recorded. And it's important for students to notice that pop-up because that's consent they're asking. Yeah. So Mikel Diaz, that's his name, he says, thank you very much for answering. One other question is, so as students, we use our student portal. The student portal is used on, there's an app on your phone as well as the library. Sometimes students go into the library and they log in. How can students protect their data once they go to the library and let's say they log into their student portal?
Okay, good. That's a good question. Well, think about it this way. Upon logging in, ensure that there is nobody shoulder surfing, looking over your shoulder at your keyboard where you're entering your password. So that's one. While you're using the application in the library, let us say that you have to run quickly to the photocopy room because you sent something to print. Lock the screen because only your password will be able to open it. When you're finished, you must ensure you log out because nobody should be able to access your information. And if on the off chance you believe that somebody might have seen your password, go and have it changed or change it yourself. That is how you put, remember, awareness and vigilance.
Vigilance. Yes, awareness and vigilance. You know, awareness, vigilance. So we are aware, we vigilant. Can you repeat one more time? Who can we contact if we ever feel like we have a data protection concern? You know, just to make sure it's clear in their mind.
dpo@ue.edu.
Guys, write this down, dpo@ue.edu. Let's be aware, let's be vigilant. You know, as we close off this session, Dr. Anglin, is there any last words you have for our students here at UWI St. Augustine?
Yes, the University of the West Indies prides itself as being amongst one of the top 5% universities in the world. And privacy is one of our core concerns, but it's also one of our competitive advantages. We compete with pride on our focus on privacy. That's what we compete on. But it's not just a competitive lever for us. Privacy matters to us. We care about your information. We care about you. We recognize that you have a right to privacy, and therefore you have an expectation of confidentiality. But remember, so does everybody else. So what I want you to do is respect the privacy of everybody around you, your lecturers, your colleague students, the person who is a staff member in the faculty office, Lana, who is a part of student services. Remember, respect goes both ways. Remember, you continue to be the center of our universe. We respect your right to privacy, and we ask that you respect the rights of others. Those are my last few words.
Thank you very much, Dr. Anglin, and thank you to all the students who were here this afternoon. Key points: remain vigilant, be attentive, and consent is key. Yes, and just respect your own privacy as well as others. Yes, thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you again to the University Data Protection Office and Dr. Anglin and his team. Bye, guys.
Take care. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Okay.